Hi, so in this video, I'm going to go over a little bit more on how to use Excel specifically for the standard deviation and for some of the bell curve equations like the norm.s.distribution stuff. So, to begin, we'll start with the standard deviation. You'll have a question like this where it says, find the standard deviation of the following data set. Assume that the data set is a sample and round your answer to the nearest hundredth if necessary. So you have all of these, and you could either press copy data or you could just highlight all of them and then copy. I would just do Control C for this, or Command C if you're on Mac, and then go into Excel. And since we're trying to find the standard deviation, first in Excel, when you want to do any type of math or any type of formulas, you need to put an equal sign in front of your box so it knows that you're doing a calculation instead of just typing in stuff like random numbers or letters. So for standard deviation, we're basically going to start by like ST DEV, and then it comes up with these two that are .p or .s. Now, to determine which one is which, first you need to figure out what the question is asking. It says, assume the data set is a sample. If you remember in our probability, statistics stuff, where we were talking about the sample versus the population, it does matter when you're typing this in. And since it's asking for the sample, we'll do .s instead of .p, which would be .population type thing. Then if you press tab or you double click on this auto suggestion, whoops, I opened the help thing. It has an open parentheses. And from here, you want to put in all of your numbers and then close the parentheses. I didn't make this quite long enough. One sec. Whoops, let me go back. So, yeah, you add it all and then you close the parentheses. I don't know, I did it on a different line. And then you'll press enter. And it should give you your standard deviation. And then if you take that, you click on the cell, you copy it, Control C, or you can right click and press copy, and then go back into your Hawks and paste. And it says round to the nearest hundredth. It should accept this full number, but if you want, yeah, it accepts the full number, so you don't necessarily need to round. And then we'll go to the other unit with the norm.s stuff. One moment. Okay, so here's another question. What percentage of the area under the normal curve is to the right of the following z-score? Round your answers to two decimal places. Let me open up Paint really quick to show you visually what it does. So you have your bell curve, what both norm.s.distribution and the IMV1. So you'll be given your z-score, and what norm.s.distribution does is it looks at where your z-score is, so this would be the mean, and here's like one standard deviation away. Here's where this z-score would be about. What norm.s.distribution and .imv does is it will calculate the percentage to the left every time. So if you want to the right instead, what you're going to have to do is, so we know a whole graph is 100% of our data, right? Because it holds all of our data. And if this is giving you, say, 13% or something like that, then it stands to reason that the rest of this would probably be 87%, because 13 minus, 100 minus 13 is 87, right? And that would be the remainder of the percentage. So when we take our z-score, we'll copy this, and we want to know what is to the right of the following z-score. We'll open up Excel, and we'll type in equals. Well, actually, I probably want to keep that last spot. We'll type in equals because we want to put in a formula and a calculation. And we'll start by typing norm.s. And then we have the two options, norm.s.distribution and norm.s.inv. Now, these two auto suggestions below sort of tell you what they do. So this one, if you click it, it'll give you this guideline below. It'll say z, comma, cumulative. And when it says z, it's asking for the z-score. If you forgot which was which and typed INV instead, it would say probability instead of z. So if you have the probability, you would type it in there in decimal form, not percentage form. And if you had it in the z-score, you would do dist. And if you forget, it's okay because it will tell you what it's asking for. So I'm going to paste our z-score, which was negative 1.16. And then you're always going to type in true for the cumulative. I'm going to be honest, I'm not entirely sure why we do this, but there are not going to be any cases where you have to type false. And then press enter. Whoops, I need... Okay. Let's see. Okay, so copying and pasting, what happened is it did a different type of negative. So if you have that error, get rid of the long one and just type in a new one. Let me try something really quick. Norm.s.distribution. True. And then enter, and okay. So then it highlights, when you have an error, it highlights what's wrong, and you can sort of guess that it might be that. Yeah. So you get this 12% basically. However, the issue is that it is calculating it to the left of the curve, if you remember. And we want to the right. So if we take in this number 4, if we do equals, and then in Excel, if you type the cell name that has something that you want to calculate in, so like A3, and it will highlight which cell. Well, actually, first we want to do 1 minus A3, because this is in decimal form, and 1 in this case is like, we're thinking about the probability. So 1 minus A3 will give you the 87, 69, 75, ... Now, if you copied and pasted this into Hawks, you would get it wrong, because this is in decimal form. What we want to do to convert it back into percentage form is move the decimal place 2 over. And it says round to the nearest 2 decimal places. 9, we look to the side of 9 and it's a 7, so it turns into 0.7 instead. And that is the answer for that. Let me look for one where it deals with the percentage really quickly. Okay, so here's one that is saying, what is the minimum z-score that a data point could have in order to remain in the top 15% of a set of data? Round your answer to 2 decimal places. Now, if you remember, when we are calculating with the norm.s functions, it calculates everything to the left. And so if we had, our z-score is going to be about right here. We don't know what it is for sure. That's what I'm thinking it might be. It's going to be calculating the z-score. Well, wait, hold on. Let me think about this for a moment. Okay, I understand. If we're plugging in the top 15, if we are plugging in the top 15, but instead we do the norm.s.inv and put in 0.15, we are actually thinking about something like right here instead. We want it to be in the top 15%. We want this top 15. So we want the minimum. We want something right here. So, and if you remember the IMV stuff, and dist and the norm.s stuff calculates to the left. So instead of 15%, we want it to be 100 minus 15 because we want to find this place, right? So that will give you 85% instead. Because it's going to be, because this area right here is going to be 85%. But this area right here, it's just because we are plugging in. We want it to be calculating the minimum rather than that. Because if we just plug in 15%, it's going to find for right here instead. So if we go into Excel and type equals norm.s.inv, and then either double click or press tab here and type in 0.85, close parentheses, you get 1.036 ... and it wants to the nearest hundredth, so it would be 1.04 instead, which is why I got confused a little bit, because it has to be top 15% instead of just putting in 15. If you just put in the 15, it gives you that, but negative instead, but we want the positive version. We could try a similar for that one. What is the maximum z-score that a data point could have in order to remain in the bottom 10%? Now this one we don't have to minus by 1 because we want to know the bottom 10%. So if we go into Excel and press equals norm.s.inv and then 0.10, that should give us our correct z-score. Let me try this. Yep. Hopefully, I know that it's kind of a confusing topic, especially because it feels less math and more computer science-y. So that kind of trips people up. But if you have any questions after that, please let me know and I'll answer them as soon as possible.